You're listening to Love Talk Live with the relationship expert, Jaime Bronstein, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hi, and welcome to Love Talk Live. So happy you're here joining us today. Today I have with me this amazing lady. Her name is Cynthia Lamb, and she is a coach, but does a lot more than just being a coach. Welcome.
Thank you. So good to be here.
So happy to have you. So before we get into everything we're going to be talking about today and her journey and the type of work that she does, I'm going to read to you guys a little bit about Cynthia. So Cynthia is a conscious channel and modern mystic who's been facilitating deep soul-level healing for over 28 years. She works with people who are ready to take full responsibility for themselves, complete their spiritual curriculum, and level up in every area of their lives. She currently offers one-on-one healing, and she offers programs, workshops, and courses, including a 2-year certification course in the Vibrant Freedom approach to conscious living. It's all just so delicious.
Thank you. I love what I do. So good. So glad to be here and talk about relationship.
It's my favorite topic.
Me too.
And a little about how we met was, without giving too much information, was we have a mutual friend who I met at a conference. Mm-hmm. I was at a wellness conference, and just through conversation, I was telling her about this radio show that I do, the work that I do, and she said, I have a guest for you. And I love when people say that, and so I reached out, and we spoke on the phone, and just even just from the conversation we had on the phone, I'm so excited for our viewers now to hear about your journey and the work that you do, because it really is quite unique and incredibly helpful. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a good mixture for helping people, right?
Yeah, thank you. My journey, it's very atypical. So I usually tell people, don't go by what happened to me, because it was quite an interesting adventure. So I had a near-death awakening experience when I was 18. I had a ruptured appendix, and when I was on the table for surgery, this group of light beings came and just took me by the hand out of my body, and I went out and just had a miraculous, magical experience. And I got all of these downloads of information, downloads about healing, downloads about like why we're here as souls, what we're here to learn, spiritual curriculum, how we can heal and then get on with our life's purpose and manifest the life of our dreams. But beyond any of that, there was this feeling of just being like steeped in love. It was like I had love just like running through my veins like warm honey. It was such a magical feeling. Just really, it was the first time I ever really felt unconditional love. And that feeling lasted about as long as it took for the painkillers to wear off. I got plunked back down in my body, and I didn't have an enlightenment. You know how some people like Eckhart Tolle, Byron Katie, they have these instant enlightenments and they come back enlightened. For me, there was this real separation. Like I had this mental level understanding and memory of everything that happened, but my personality was completely incongruent. I was like a train wreck. I was a mess.
You were also so young when this happened.
Yeah, and I think that also had a lot to do with why I couldn't integrate it. Like I could barely even understand what happened.
Like one of my questions for you starting out would be, did you write all this down because you were so young that if you had done all these spiritual classes as you were older, maybe you would have had the tools to know I should write this down. Like what did you do right after, I'd say?
Right. I didn't write anything down. And in fact, I denied the whole thing. I decided that, I had this really unusual experience in the hospital where I started talking to dead people and got a really bad reaction from someone's relative who was in the room going, "Nurse!" At his mother's empty hospital bed. So the nurse, kind of took me by the arm and said, "It's okay, honey, come on out of here," and I'm talking to this woman who had just left her body. And, the son's reaction made me feel like I am really weird, like this is really different. and I was probably still on morphine and high as a kite at that point. So it took a little while for me to be like, I can't talk about this. So I shut it down. I just shut it down, and I just decided maybe they got the wrong hospital bed, maybe it wasn't supposed to be me who was supposed to teach all this stuff. And I denied it for about 5 years, and my life got really, really hard. But it was hard to ignore, because one of the things that happened, besides having like this dump of information in my head that I'm supposed to share, was that I had opened a channel. So my guides are going, it's just going to get worse until you
don't open up and let it out.
Yeah. So I experienced a lot of suffering, and that's part of how I got to where I am now, is that I had 2 failed relationships, 2 divorces. You know, I ended up single mom with 3 kids, twice divorced, in total misery, broke, sick, and, you know, finally it was like something has to give. So I started asking. I just decided it can't get any worse than this, and then it would get worse. And I hit a rock bottom, and I turned it over. I just surrendered, and I said, show me the way. And then I started getting this guidance that was just incredible, and I got guided out of the mire, and I was shown how to heal myself.
So, like, what types of things were you shown? What were the downloads? What were the messages that you got?
The messages on healing, first of all, it was that it's all just compassion, that there's no such thing as right or wrong. We've never done anything wrong. We're just innocent. We're souls here learning and growing, and that if we can have compassion rather than viewing what we do as wrong or bad, the compassion will actually heal us.
Yes.
And the main thing is that our soul's natural state is ease. So we're meant to live in joy and love and ease in this very centered, very, you know, natural state of bliss, really. And we've gotten out of alignment by buying into fear and irrationality. And so there's a way we can get ourselves out of the fear, but it really takes knowing, first of all, that you're even in the fear, right?
Yeah, and I sometimes say to my clients, it's kind of like going to AA, you know, saying I acknowledge that I have a problem. Not that it's a problem, but it is all about healing, is all about healing the unresolved issues. Yes. So it's acknowledging it first. It's like taking that first step. And a lot of times it's that rock bottom, just like it's rock bottom with alcoholics.
Right, and you can't go into a bar and shake someone and say, you're an alcoholic, you know?
Right.
It just doesn't work. Yeah. They have to come to it themselves. So with healing, it's the same way. And I had all of this, you know, dump of what to do, but I wasn't taking any action. I was really stuck in fear and resistance. I resisted for a long time. And then I finally woke up, you know, about 10 years later. I must have been 28 by the time I really started doing my soul's work. And, you know, it came about when I had these 2 failed marriages. I was the common denominator, right? And it was like I'd almost married the same man. And this man very closely mirrored my relationship with my mother, which was very critical, very harsh, very demanding. I felt really like a victim, felt very powerless in this. And so I thought, you know, this is going to be up to me to heal this thing. Like, if I want something different, you know, because I left the first relationship because it wasn't okay. And then I ended up getting even worse the second time around. So it was like just this repetition. Luckily, it only took me twice to see it. But it was this repeating pattern of me feeling like a powerless victim and feeling like I was trying so hard. I was trying to prove I was good enough. I was trying to prove my worth, prove I was lovable. And
sorry, go on, but I just want to add something after that.
Yeah. So, it took me recognizing it and really seeing it in order to do something different.
And I just wanted to say that what the situation that you were in these relationships with trying so hard to get love, let's say, you know, when really as you heal and you grow, we all learn that it's about, I already am love. I am the love. I don't need to get the love. And when you exist like that, which you learned how to do, then you just show up as that love. You don't need to get love from anyone. It's the cherry on top, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Sharing that love with someone just becomes so beautiful. But at the time I didn't know it. You know, I had identified my mother as my source of love, and when she gave her disapproval, I felt unloved. I felt unworthy of love. So what ended up happening for me, how I got out of it, was I learned how to own the projection of judgment. You know, I learned how to look at my ex-husbands and see what I judged them as. Because, you know, one of the principles that came to me when I was out there in that beautiful experience was that our inner reality creates our outer reality. You know, the law is as within, so without. So whatever is going on inside of me is going to be showing up in my life. So we can actually use our judgment, because the way it works is that our natural state is ease, and we want to feel ease inside. And when we have judgment, it goes so against our state of ease that we don't want to feel it. So what we do is we push it out onto other people. We put it out, we dump it on them, and we judge them up. You know, he's a jerk, she's, you know, mean or whatever. And
I'm upset because.
And then there is this blame, fill in the blank, and it is a blame. And so I had to take responsibility for myself, basically. I had to say, I've created this life, so whatever judgment is going on here, this is about me. Like, this is, if I don't like something that's going on in my relationship, I have to own it.
Right. And this is something that I feel like more and more people are grabbing onto this concept. And I truly feel like the more and more people that do grab on, the world is going to be healed. Because the more and more people in this world that do take ownership over everything in our lives and our relationships, all relationships will get better. I mean, they have to get better. If there's no more judgment, no more blame, there's forgiveness, we heal ourselves, everybody gets healed. Now, I don't think this is going to happen tomorrow, but I do feel like more and more people are understanding these concepts, and it's just kind of, I personally am feeling and seeing a shift. And I feel like especially the younger people in this world are very, very open to this from what I've seen with my clients and colleagues, classmates. And it's really beautiful to see when people just, they grab onto it and they want to do the work. And we could should we get into the work that how you actually help your clients?
Sure.
Okay, so why is it important that the people that you work with are ready to take responsibility for themselves? Why is it important, and how do you personally teach this? I'd say, like, how do you do it in like a lighthearted, gentle way instead of being with a client and saying, you need to own up, you know, like kind of, if I was hearing it for the first time, it might seem harsh. So how do you do it in a gentle way, I'd say?
Yeah, this is an important question. And I love the distinction, because a fear-based responsibility is this one where someone is scolding you and saying, you know, you need to take responsibility.
Right.
And it makes us feel bad.
Defensive.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the first order of business is really, you know, letting people know that there's no way to blow it. You know, you've never done anything wrong. And if you can take ownership of your life and look at the word in a different way, if you take it into two parts, responsibility, it's the ability to respond. So response able becomes able to respond. And so we can look at our life and we can say, you know, I used to respond in this way, in this fear-based way, but now, if I take this idea that I have free will choice, I could choose to respond in another way. See, and it doesn't make me bad or wrong about choosing this old way. it's just, if I accept that's the way it was, I can look at it now and say, was it working for me? Was I happy?
Right.
Was it really serving me? And there's a lot of power in taking personal responsibility.
Yes, yeah.
And for me, I'm not the kind of healer who can facilitate someone who just stays in blame. You know, there's so many counselors out there, thousands of them, maybe hundreds of thousands of them, that will just take someone's money and listen to them blame
Right.
and blame and blame for
Right.
an hour and then ding the bell and send them off and do that for 20 years.
But they're doing the best they can as therapists because they don't know this particular
Right.
technique and
Right.
tool.
And I feel like it doesn't serve me to be that kind of facilitator.
Right.
So for me, you know, having my clients be willing, and this is something that we sort out right in the very first session, and if it feels like they're still really stuck in story and not ready to make the shift, I usually just refer them on. But if they say, I'm so ready, you know, I want to own this,
Yes.
I want it, I want to be free, I will do anything, then they're my people.
I did a radio show today, and they were asking me a kind of a question about this, about what do you do with a client who is not really going to be opening up, and you know, I said it depends on the client. The most important thing is that they need to want to do the work, which is what you're saying, and also if they come in, which is also what you're saying, and they aren't immediately comfortable, at least let's see in time, you know, do they feel like they're open to getting there? But if they just have kind of a bad attitude or just, you know, I truly think just like anything in life, whether you're quitting smoking or you are going to start to go to the gym, you need to want to do it.
Yeah, that desire is paramount. And the thing is it's okay to be afraid, because often when people start a healing journey, it brings up a lot of fear. You know, this work stirs up all this old unconscious stuff,
Yeah.
you know, trauma, painful memories, all of that is
All
gonna
that
be
fun stuff, you know? It's so
Right.
lighthearted.
I actually love diving deep. I think it's really fun.
Yes, it is.
But at first it's scary, right? So I say to my clients, it's okay to feel afraid. And as long as you have a burning desire for freedom, you can be afraid and you can have that desire. And it just takes like a crack. You only need to have like a little bit of,
Right,
you know,
just take one little
intention.
3-foot toss.
Right.
And I love that Cynthia just brought up the word freedom, because this is what it's all about. It's all about how we ourselves don't even realize how we are holding us back. Our stories are holding us back. We are the ones that are in our way. And so we are in jail even though we don't realize it. And then to break free and to be free to be ourselves and to be free to be able to receive everything that is waiting for us.
Right. And to come back into that ease. You know, when I first started my healing, there was this moment where I was following what Spirit was telling me to do and starting to really look deeply. And first I was guided to just like listen, because I had been, you know, this was back in the 80s. So there was all of this positive, you know, self-talk. It was all about positive thinking, and you weren't allowed to think a negative thought. And if you thought a negative thought, you just had to like kick it to the curb. And what I was guided to do was totally different from that. I was guided to just listen, like listen to the fear and listen to the judgment and listen to what was up. And all this painful stuff started bubbling up. And as I was listening to it, there was this one moment I was listening to something, and I had this defensiveness up, and one of my coworkers had accused me of being defensive, and I'd gotten really hot and heated in my body, and I had all this judgment. I was so uncomfortable, and I was lying there in bed right before going to sleep, and I just started listening to this part of me that was saying, you're so defensive, you're so defensive. And all of a sudden, this warmth came down, just like flooded through my head and down into my heart, and it went down into my body. And I started crying. Tears just came. And it was so relieving. And I didn't even know what the feeling was. And I found out later it was compassion. I started feeling compassion. And it went through my body. And what was so interesting was that it felt just like when I'd been out there in that trip. it felt like that warm honey running through my veins, and it was liberating. And I thought, I want to feel like this every day. And I woke up the next morning and I felt like crap again. And at that point, I set a really loud, strong, clear intention that I would do anything to get that feeling in my body every day.
So when you were saying, when you were kind of in your stuff, you're like, I'm not defensive, or that was bothering me, you were getting triggered by it. Do you feel like it was the universe, God, just saying to you, I love you, no matter what. I love you, and I'm here for you, and I got you?
Very much, very much. I was observing it, and then I had access to this kind of higher observation that was just watching me with so much love, and I was able to feel it in that moment. It was really a first for me. I don't know that I had ever tasted compassion. I think I had been defended my whole childhood, my whole early adult life.
And I just, what's coming to me now is that I want everybody to know that this is, everybody can access this. This is available for everybody. It's like this universal love that we are all born into this world to have. We all have it. It's a matter of, I think, just quieting down, listening to ourselves, and like you said, to not push away. Don't push away any feeling. We need to go through things and not push them away. So I love that what you teach is that, to embrace it. Any feeling that comes up, just embrace it, right?
Absolutely. And so many spiritual teachers right now are teaching that judgment is bad. Have you heard that? That judgment's a bad thing, it's bad to judge. And what I was taught, and we also learned at USM, is that judgment can actually be used as a healing tool.
Because you need to see,
own it.
Yeah, you have to see what the judgment was, why you got triggered.
Right. So this is something that was so magical for me to learn, because it got me out of my own, personal rock bottom, when I learned how to actually hear my own judgment and then use it as a tool for my healing.
I love it. So would you say that for people that are having repetitive cycling relationships, is it simply about owning everything that's going on and owning their judgments, taking responsibility for the past relationships in order to attract a different type of relationship? Or at least, what did you do? What do your clients do?
Yeah.
What is the biggest shift that needs to be made?
Well, for me, the biggest shift was really getting in my body that my inner reality created my outer reality. So my story, whatever the story was that I had about myself, which was that I was this poor, pitiful, unworthy,
victim
helpless
mode.
Victim. Yes, that was the story that was running. And also that I was stupid. I had a lot of stupid judgment.
You made bad decisions, so you're stupid?
I was stupid for anything.
Oh, you're just stupid.
I just was stupid.
You seem like a stupid person. Yeah, I can understand.
Right?
She's brilliant. Yeah, go on.
Thank you. So for me, taking responsibility was really the key. And when I could see that this was my creation, that I created these two marriages based on the stories that I was running about my childhood, about my upbringing, I was just repeating this with these two husbands. And I had to say, what is my story? First of all, I had to identify it, and then really look at why I was running it, that it wasn't serving me, and the possibility, this was the really big thing, the possibility that I could have something different, that I could have something better. And owning the projections of judgment was hands down the best tool to free me up, to really start to get something better, to attract a different kind of mirror, because the relationships were mirroring what was going on in me.
I love that you had that awakening of, oh, I can have something better. Because she's not kidding. It's surprising, when people don't know that, but it's very common,
Super
that
common.
people don't realize, A, that there is something better out there, and B, that they deserve it. So that's amazing that you had that moment where you it's kind of like
Right.
strength of heart, empowerment.
Yeah, most of us are so stuck in lack. We just don't believe that it's possible.
Yes.
We think that, we live in this envy or jealousy. Oh, look what she has.
Like, oh, but not for me.
Not for me. It would never happen.
And then, so it doesn't if they
Right.
stay in that place.
Right.
But it's all about shifting, right?
Well, and the universal law is ask and receive. So if we don't ask, we're not going to get anything different. And I literally did not ask for easily 28 to 30 years. I didn't ask. Never even occurred to me because I was so steeped in lack and victim mentality that I just didn't even think I could have it.
You didn't know.
No.
And ignorance was not bliss.
No. Pretty painful, actually.
Okay, so I want to get on to, you have this, you have a 5-step focus method, which is amazing. And so I'd like you to tell our viewers about this 5-step focus method and what is it all about and what do you do and how do you help people?
Okay, so the focus method is focus, which is really about seeing what is there. I'm upset because, and identifying the trigger. Okay?
Right, yes.
And when we're owning a projection of judgment, we look at what are the judgments and write down a list, like judge the other person up. For instance, I judged up both of my ex-husbands and just wrote down all of the things that I judged them as. Mean, controlling, manipulative. The list was very long. I won't bore you with the whole thing. So focus is about gathering information. You get information about what the upset in your outer world is. O is own. Then you take it inside and you own the mirror and you ask yourself, am I willing to look at myself and see what's in me about this? And when we're owning a projection of judgment, we have to start to get really curious and ask ourselves some investigative questions. What does this remind me of about my own life? Have I ever judged myself as this? Has anybody else ever judged me as this? Do I think God judges me as this? And we explore the whole thing. And there's going to be some resonance in there. And sometimes you really have to dive deep to find it.
Yes. Yeah, because I feel like a lot of times the situations are so different and the people are so different. Like you and your ex as people and as humans are so different. So it probably took some work to be for you to say, I'm not mean or I'm not manipulative, but maybe you're being mean to yourself and not mean to somebody else. Or you're trying to manipulate your life. You're trying to control your life, things like that. So it's probably, I always call myself a detective, it's probably as a therapist when you're going through this, you have to really help your client to say, no, let's dig. Could it be this?
Deep.
Could it be that? Yeah. And then I'm sure when they have their aha moments, it's just like when we all have our aha moments, it's so exciting.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's so true. The thing with my husband, so many of them were easy to own, but there was this one word, liar. And I was like, I don't lie.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, maybe this universal law doesn't apply to me. Maybe this one judgment, maybe it's just really him. And I kept that out there for literally 10 years. It took me 10 years to own that particular judgment. And what happened was it kept coming back. It kept coming, we were divorced. For 10 years we were divorced. And something kept coming back up. What ended up coming, the final straw, was that we had a financial agreement that he didn't keep. And I ended up getting my bank account frozen. It came against me. They did that thing where they freeze your assets. And I was so upset about this because it was for a hospital bill in my name that he had agreed to pay. And I was in so much judgment. And I just said, Spirit, I will do anything to clear this liar judgment. He said he paid it. Why do I feel this?
So you were
man
getting
is
the
a liar?
stackers, he kept giving you reasons to judge him for lying.
For years it went on.
Yes.
That was the very last thing, but it had been
And
on and on and on.
What
I
she's
judged him
saying
as
is
a
that
liar.
until you resolve an unresolved issue or heal a judgment, it's going to keep happening, just to catch you guys
Right.
so you understand.
It
So
will just
kept
stack like this.
Stackers.
I had liar, judgment, stacking all the way up. And
So that's what she means by it. It stayed with her because situations kept happening and happening and happening.
it just
Okay.
was repetitive. I was stuck in a cycle of judging him as a liar.
So he kept giving her reason to
so
judge him as a liar.
painful. So what ended up happening was I set a bedtime intention one night to, just fully heal and resolve this thing. And I had a dream in the middle of the night, and I saw my whole life like flashing in pictures, and I saw how I had felt guilty for being born. And the guilt was like so pervasive, and I felt guilty throughout my childhood, and I was always punished during my childhood, so that kept the guilt running. Like I was able to really feel that birth guilt. But then my mom and dad got divorced, and my mom moved out, and I was living with my father, and I ended up stealing a ring from a woman I was babysitting for. And I thought I got home, I felt terribly guilty. I thought I'll take it back the next time I go back. And my mom found it, and she took it away from me, and I wasn't able to give it back. And then I tried to get it back, and I made all of these stories up. I found it on the beach. We have to go to the police station and find out who, And my mother ended up saying, well, it's an engagement ring. It's very valuable. It's too valuable for you to have, right? And so I was just dying inside that I couldn't get this ring back to this woman. Now I found out it was a valuable ring, right? So I'm thinking I have this woman's engagement ring. So I couldn't tell my mother the truth. I was so afraid to tell her. I was so afraid of being beaten that I couldn't own it. So I just decided I was a dirty, rotten, stinking liar, and that I would be guilty for life. And I shut that all down, and I said I would never tell another lie again. And I forgot about it.
Wow.
I blanked it out, and I didn't realize it until I saw this movie. And deciding I was a dirty, rotten, stinking liar actually kept me feeling guilty for being born. I kept that birth guilt going until I saw that movie. So my ex-husband, who I judged as a liar, turned out to be an angel in my life. He turned out to be the biggest blessing, because when I owned it, I saw that I had judged myself as a liar, and he was just mirroring that I had this very deep pain.
That's amazing. That really is. I love that you went on that journey, and that you also, you saw the humanness in him, that he might lie, but so did you. And once you stopped judging yourself, you could stop judging him.
Yeah.
And also our biggest challenges are our biggest teachers who end up being our angels because they teach us, right?
Yeah, for sure. We only know they're angels when we're through it, on the other end.
Yeah. We can suspect it, and we hear it, and we can think it, but we know it after.
Yes.
And we feel it after.
Really feel it. I am really good friends with my ex-husband.
I love it.
And his wife.
Oh, good.
They're actually out of town on a tropical vacation, and I'm caring for their kitty right now.
Aww.
So that's the level of healing that is possible.
And everybody can do it.
Everyone can do it.
So that was the O. Now the C.
Yes. C is clear.
We're spelling focus again.
Yes.
By the way.
So C is for clear. So how do we clear something? Well, really that energy of compassion is the way. So before I guide someone into this process, I have them breathe in compassion when we get to the clearing part, to set an intention to access love and compassion, and really breathe it down into their body. Fill their heart center with it, then take it all the way down to their toes and all the way down to their fingertips, and then they get that warm honey feeling buzzing through their body. And this really helps this part. And so then you want to investigate, like, what are the judgments I made about myself, and what are the beliefs I made about it, and how can I let that go? So compassion and love are the two ingredients that make up forgiveness. So I take my clients through a forgiveness process where they really flood themselves in their memory, like I had to flood up my teenage self for taking that ring.
Mm-hmm.
I had to flood her up. So I pictured my adult spiritual self hugging her and loving her and saying, it's all right, you didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
You were just a kid. You were just, doing the very best you could at that time, and you're innocent. And so saying this in a forgiveness statement sounds like, I forgive myself for judging myself as a liar. I forgive myself for judging myself as a dirty, rotten, stinking liar, and then we take a big deep breath and let it go, and really feel the relief of it when that, the breathing helps lift it. And if it doesn't lift, sometimes when we do this, it doesn't lift on the first try. You might have to say it a time or two, maybe even 10 times, maybe even 100 times to get it up out of your body.
But what we were talking about before is that just even the acknowledgement and the aha moment about it and taking the action all helps everything move clear out.
Absolutely. So then U is update. And when we make the update, we want to make it as high as we can believe as possible. It has to be at least 50% believable. So, for instance, we can't just decide we're broke and then make an update that we're a millionaire. We won't believe it, right? So we make the update to whatever we can believe is possible. So it might even sound like, the truth is that I'm open to the possibility I could really be innocent, just for a crack. But if I can really feel my innocence, I would say the truth is I'm innocent. I'm a divine soul just having a human experience, and I had a temporary feeling like a liar, but it's not who I am.
No.
And then the S is the shift. And this is about really doing the inner work on an ongoing basis, because I didn't clear that liar judgment in just 1 minute. Believe me, it took a few months for me to get all of that birth guilt out of my body and get all of that liar judgment out and really come to see my ex as the angel that he is in my life. So that's the focus method. We keep going to shift. You keep stating your updates for as long as it takes until that energy doesn't come up anymore, until that mirror of lying doesn't present itself in your life anymore. And I have to say I'm so grateful. I have not had a liar energy, a lying trigger in my life since I did that.
See, that's how powerful this work is.
Yeah.
It truly is.
Yeah.
Someone once asked me how long, I was doing a podcast and the man asked me, so how long does it usually take for your clients to heal and your clients, to what's the average time length that you see a client? And I'm curious for you how you would answer that question, because I had my own answer, which I'll share after, but I'm just thinking as you're talking, and if someone's listening and they're like, ooh, I want to sign up, like how long does it take? So from you and your experience with your 28 years of experience, how long is your average client with you?
Well, I would say the average is with me for about a year. Now, there's a lot of variation. I used to have people come to me just for one session, and they would feel like it was so life-changing. They would just be like, I'm healed, and they wouldn't come back. And so this happened for a number of years, and I finally got wise to this and thought, I'm not really benefiting them, because we know we can't do deep healing in one session.
Right.
It takes
it's
a
the
little
repetition.
while. Yeah. So I started offering programs. So my shortest is a 6-week program. Most people sign up for at least 3 months. I have a 3-month program and a 9-month program and a 2-year program.
Yes, and let's get back to, so someone can do one-on-one work with you, and then you do groups as well.
I do.
Which is I'm assuming that's the 2-year program?
Yes. Yeah.
And is this in person? Is this online? Do you want to talk a little bit about specifically these programs if people are interested?
Sure. So my Vibrant Freedom Conscious Healing program is a 2-year certification course, and I basically teach what I do. So if this interests you, if you want to learn how to facilitate deep soul level healing, you can come to my program. And that one, the first year is learning all the tools of really how to heal yourself, and the second year is about facilitating and working with clients, really, and learning how to do it. And it's an amazing program, and it is mostly online. We meet every week online for 3 hours, and then we also have several retreats a year in person.
And in those retreats, do you guys practice being facilitators with each other like we do at USM?
Absolutely. We actually do it online as well. So all of the students pair up. They have home assignments. Every week they get to do a session with one of their classmates. And in the second year, they get to do sessions with the year 1 students.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So it's kind of a little internship program.
And one of the great things about, we talk about USM and about doing this work, is that you get to be the facilitator and the client. Do you have neutral observers or just facilitator client?
Yeah.
So it's really wonderful. And I remember just even when I first started out as a therapist, to be able to see it from both sides, to have that experience of being the client and the facilitator. I think it's so important.
Right, right. Well, for that part, for the observation part, I do a master class where the students get to observe in year 1 me working with one of the students, and then they all get to give their feedback and talk about what they learned and what they saw. And then in year 2, the year 2 students get to do it, and then they get feedback from all of their peers in the class, and it's just a really valuable way to learn.
That's awesome. And how many students are usually in each class?
Right now they're fairly small. I have between 8 to 12.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so
That
they
is
get a lot
nice.
of one-on-one.
It's very bonding also, right?
Yeah, so much.
And where do you guys usually go on retreat, just in case there's anybody out there who's like, ooh, I could use a trip to Bermuda? Like, where do you
This
go?
year's retreat is on an island called Samsø in Denmark, a beautiful
Ooh, so
island
they
in
do go
Denmark.
far. That's awesome.
Yeah, well, actually, this group is mostly European, so.
Oh, yes. I remember you telling.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know if we have a few minutes if you want to get into kind of, you started working in Europe, right, a long time ago?
It's actually been about 3.5 years now. that I
Since you've
started.
been there.
Since I've been going. I've had international clients for about 20 years.
Yeah.
We used to do it on the phone before we had the internet.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that it's
Yeah.
like a long, and there was who was the man, there was a teacher of yours or a book, this guy wrote a book. Nope.
He didn't write a book yet. I'm really pushing him to write a book, but his name is Willem, and he's from Denmark, and he's a Tantra teacher. And we just met each other at a conference. We
Right.
were at a marketing conference, and we bumped into each other.
But it was meant to be.
And he said, "What do you do?" This is in San Jose, and I was coming from the East Coast, and he was coming from Denmark, and we bumped into each other. And this was right after I had said to the universe, "Show me what's next." And I had been being pushed to get international, and I had been very comfortable here in LA, having a practice that went on for more than 15 years. And Spirit was pushing me to go wider. And I bumped in with him, and he said, "What do you do?" And I told him, and he said, "Well, how does that work?" And I said, "It's hard to describe. You have to try it." So we spent like 10 minutes together, and he just said, "That was amazing. Will you come to Denmark and teach?"
Wow.
And I was there 2 weeks later. And the rest is history. Denmark has really welcomed me. And then I branched out and went to Brussels and Germany, and yeah.
Amazing. So if we're wrapping up now, so if anybody wants to sign up for your program or just even one-on-one sessions, how do they find you?
vibrantfreedom.com, and you can email me at cynthia@vibrantfreedom.com. And you can find me on Facebook at Vibrant Freedom. Instagram I'm not using so much, but I'm Vibrant Freedom. Yeah.
And I love just vibrant freedom, just the energy around that is so beautiful. I love that's the name of your program.
Yes, thank you. I had the word freedom, and I was saying it has to be freedom. My business has to be about freedom because that's what is achievable. And, people kept saying, but I just picture like the 4th of July or Independence Day, like it has to be more. And I was like, well, it's like, I don't know what. And then this word vibrant just came flying out. One of my friends said it, and I said, that's it.
That's it.
Yes.
Okay, well, you are incredible. Thank you for joining us today. And thank you guys for joining us today.
Thank you.
And as always, if you want to reach out to me, I'm at www.therelationshipexpert.com or Jaime, Jaime, at therelationshipexpert.com or on Instagram, The Relationship Expert. Just the X, not the X. So thank you so much. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.
You're listening to Love Talk Live with the relationship expert, Jaime Bronstein, only on LA Talk Radio.